Hello and welcome to our presentation, The Semiotics of Engagement in Design, Spectacle and Usability. I'm Dr. Teena A, an Associate Professor in the Department of English at Eastern Washington University.
And I'm Dr. John Abell, Associate Professor, School of Architecture, Washington State University.
This presentation explores the semiotics of engagement in design as a cross-disciplinary phenomenon. Here we explore the question, does engagement differ depending on the form or medium of design, or does a semiotic structure of engagement combining spectacle and usability remain constant across different medium? We argue the latter. Engagement is, after all, linked closely to the concepts of spectacle and usability. Spectacle and usability are correlative terms representing different signifiers of the experience of engagement. Within the semiotics of design, these terms are not opposites, but rather situationally codependent upon each other for their meaning and value. They define each other, but the relationship is often presented as a disassociation. As such, they exist in tension, posing for each other the possibility of imminent convergence and transformation. In this presentation, after defining our terms, we will examine two different design artifacts to elucidate how the terms function as a semiotic of engagement in design. One will be a new media website, and the other an architectural installation. With semiotics, we are of course concerned with the realm of the symbolic and with signification, how concepts and forms come together to signify. For designed objects, spaces, and information, the terms spectacle and use have come to represent binary terms, with spectacle being perceived as excessive and illusory, and usability as practical and real. Spectacle refers to a specially prepared or arranged display, usually public in nature, that forms an impressive or interesting show or entertainment for those viewing it. Usability, a derivative of usable, denotes that an object can be used. More recently, it has come to refer to the degree to which an object, whether an interface or architecture, enables its users to carry out their task efficiently and effectively. For digital media, the tension between spectacle and usability is apparent in the discourse and principles regarding the design of the interface. The most commonly recognized function of the interface is to enable the user to get a task done or find what they need. In other words, the interface must be usable and efficient. Popular approaches to designing user interfaces frequently argue that the interface should be invisible. Donald Norman, for example, argued that an interface is an obstacle. It stands between a person and a system. Alison Head noted that the best designs are the ones that users never give a second thought about. And Steve Krug, author of the popular guide Don't Make Me Think, stipulates for web design that the goal should be for each page to be self-evident, so that just by looking at it, the average user will know what it is and how to use it. Invisibility, however, is not an attribute of spectacle. A spectacle by its very nature must be seen and recognized as display. The power of digital media is that it exploits both spectacle and usability. It provides the excesses of the visual, but enables the user to perform tasks or locate information. For this presentation, we'll be looking at a new media piece called Waterlife, co-produced by the National Film Board of Canada and Primitive Entertainment. Waterlife is an online interactive film which aims, according to its director, to alert Americans and Canadians to the extreme threats facing the great body of water known as the Great Lakes. To do this, it must take viewers to a familiar place and help them see it anew as if for the first time. Through this work, I argue, we can see how spectacle and usability work together to create an experience of engagement in its users. Spectacle becomes usable as an instrument for revisioning the familiar and everyday so as to reveal its extraordinary nature and value. At first glance, the site appears to defy the principles of usability in terms of the interface. Aside from the word enter, it has no clearly visible system of navigation. In other words, for the average user, it may not be apparent how to use this site. The video you see here is a screen capture of a user entering the site for Waterlife. Upon entering the site, the user is caught up in the spectacle of a cascade of small swirling fragments of color. As the fragments take shape, the user sees that the fragments are themselves little images. Together, the images coalesce into a collage of the Great Lakes. Yet the image of the Great Lake, the collage, remains fluid, as though floating on the screen. The usability of the spectacle becomes apparent only as the user scrolls over the surface and explores the images. Each image is a gateway into the site, and as the user touches on certain images, a corresponding wave appears at the bottom of the screen, revealing another passageway into the site, for the user can scroll through the wave to access the site as well. If users seek standard navigation, they need only scroll to the upper left of the screen and a navigation menu floats into place. Here we see usability actually become part of the spectacle. By definition, the usability of the interface is supposed to make the interface invisible and the required actions apparent to the user. But in this work, we see the subversion of usability to spectacle, and thus the navigation becomes part of the spectacle, and changes occur throughout the work. On one page you may click on a word, on another an arrow, and on another an image. In the convergence of usability and spectacle, efficiency gives way to exploration and immersion. In other words, the experience of engagement moves away from a simply learned automated response, although standard features are present to make this possible, to interaction and engagement. Users are asked through the spectacle to see a place in a new way. They're asked to explore, engage, and, yes, even think. This is not the domain of pure spectacle, nor is it the domain of the efficiency of pure usability. It is through a convergence of spectacle and usability that engagement for the user is created.
Usability and spectacle are aspects of the experience of engagement with the material and spatial affordances of design products. Usability and meaning are partially conveyed through material form, spatiality, and environmental context. Material form visually and spatially models and exhibits usability and environmental fitness. Thus, a spectacle of usability is part of the experience. Krippendorff describes these ways of engaging with designed products as human-centered ecological affordances. One is guided to use and instructed how to use by viewing material and spatial properties the design product displays. As such, spectacle and usability are correlative terms in different assemblages of material form, spatiality, and environmental fitness in the experience of engagement in design. The correlative and material and spatial use and spectacle in design products is explained by Peirce's indexical sign. Peirce distinguished between three types of sign: symbol, icon, and index. A footprint and a photograph are indexical signs because they depend on physically tracing the absent object represented. A design product that materially and spatially articulates its intended use affords a spectacle of its usability and as such is an indexical sign. However, this is not to suggest the engagement lacks interpretive ambiguity. Rather, the experience of engagement in design is semiotic. The ambiguity of the spectacle of usability is intrinsic to the experience. Ambiguity in the interpretive and correlative relationship between spectacle and use also affords the potential for the dissociation of use and spectacle. In this presentation, our second example is an architectural installation. The installation was created for National Architecture Week in 2010 in April in Spokane, Washington, River Park Square. The installation materially and spatially indexes affordances and the spectacle of usability. The River Park Square installation was temporary and site-specific. The project aims were to raise public awareness about contemporary architecture and to demonstrate innovative material ideas and enduring qualities of architecture. The installation design emphasized path and space relationships in the atrium context, the play of light in the atrium, particularly natural daylighting, and architectural craft and assemblage. Usability and spectacle are central to the experience of the installation. Installation affordances are conveyed through material form, spatiality, and environmental fit. The installation is usable as an object and as a spatial configuration, as suggested by its contextual fit. And as a rather exuberant object and sinuous spatial configuration, it is a spectacle. As such, it captures attention and conveys information. Designed and scaled to loosely fit a circular mosaic in the floor of the existing atrium, the installation explores that circle without literally following it. The sinuous form establishes open spaces and harboring spaces, affording experiences at different scales and levels of commitment in the atrium, either above, adjacent, inside, or out of the installation itself. And the installation affords improvisational uses and groupings without dictating either. Some of the triangular panels on the installation itself highlighted information about buildings in the city. As a rather exuberant spatial object, the installation is a spectacle that captures attention and conveys information. Crowd circulation and social esplanade spectacles are afforded by the overall form of the installation. This is suggested by the grouping of 8 children adjacent to the installation, documented in the image on the right. The installation subtly reconfigured its host site by working with existing circulation pathways to tangentially ply existing flows of people in and out of the atrium, establishing little eddies in the human streams. The information panels on the installation itself serve to draw people even closer in and to gather and stroll around the installation. Enveloping display surfaces are implicated in a semiotics of engagement, use, and indexical signification. Walling and cladding materially signify and trace 2 of the material and conceptual tasks of architectural design. These concepts are central to the installation design. The walling and cladding task is closely related to use and indexical signification. Gottfried Semper, in Style and the Tectonic and Practical Arts in 1851, defined the wall as one of the definitive tectonic elements of architecture, and walling as one of the definitive motivations for and tasks of architecture. Semper explained that walling and cladding function like dressing. Like a garment, walling and cladding physically envelop and shelter the family, the social group, and institutions, and symbolically represent them. The surfaces become a physical trace of the social and examples of indexical signification. In conclusion, we have advanced the idea that spectacle and usability are not oppositional, but rather correlative terms. Their meaning and function depend on each other.
To view spectacle as illusion is to ignore its utility, and to view usability only in terms of efficiency is to ignore the human need for intrigue, engagement, and meaning.
Designed objects, spaces, and information construct user experience through a semiotics of engagement, usability, and spectacle. Thank you.